let's talk about what the hell this is. This is a deck I call Share and Share. Because the idea is we're going to try to do a little bit of sharing in weird ways. So we're going to share with other people. Sometimes we're going to share with other people. Maybe even more other people. Definitely with each other. And maybe even more to other people. I don't think this card is good. I just want to see what happens if I play it. It costs 4. It is just a regular hunting ground. Sometimes, though, sometimes somebody might be desperate enough to give us a pool. If it can happen 2 times, it's paid for itself. If it can happen 4 times, we basically won with the card. Aside from that, playing a lot of hunting grounds, a lot more blood moving. There's equipment moving, but we're not really playing equipment in the deck. We might end up playing equipment. Playing a random Into the Fire, not really necessary. There's only one vampire that's Sabat. They're not really going to go Abbott. They're not really going to do any of that. Just kind of there to be there for funsies. Not as many Sabat required cards as necessary, but we might end up in some weird situation where we, I don't know, have to put an Abbott on it or need it to call that Black Forest base. That's really not what Miriam's job is here for. Miriam's job is literally to do what her text says. Rescue a vampire from torpor. A lot of how we plan to win is finding the right time to bleed unblockably, with govern, with threats, try to get in there for 5. The vampire will go to torpor. If we fail at it, then we'll have Miriam try to walk in and fix the situation. Maybe it won't work, maybe it will. Hard to say. Might be in our best interest as well. One of the cards I thought about playing here is to play Catacombs, or maybe even the new Grail that is coming out, the Mithras's Cup, or whatever, Chalice, whatever the fuck it is, which does literally the same thing as Catacombs. It's just not a low equipment. It's still unique. It also has an additional effect of giving you a level of blood sorcery. So, they're also apparently partially sticking with this minus blood thing on some cards, but not on others. I don't know. I don't get that part, but that's irrelevant here. So, thought about playing Catacombs, maybe. Still on the fence about it. Let's talk about the deck first and see if I change my mind. So, again, lots of hunting grounds. We've got Corporate, we've got Garushan Hall, we've got Kingston Penitentiary. Probably more hunting grounds than we need if we get a Garushan Hall. That's going to cover 2 of our vampires. It doesn't even require them to be Sabat either, so if we end up in a real weird situation where one of these 2 isn't ready, Miriam can still get the blood. And then, of course, Kingston Penitentiary and Corporate can go wherever they want. Playing Framing an Ancient Grudge and Demonstration. These are just basically to control political situations that might get out of hand. Because outside of it, we're probably not really going to be as concerned with it. We do have a Cardinal, which will give us some ability to vote in stuff. So I don't know how much more we'll need. We'll see. I know a Cardinal isn't a lot, but usually having at least some votes is enough along with the rest of the table to make political actions a little more difficult. We're playing some boons here as well to go along with our share theme. We're going to be life booning some people hopefully at some point. The goal of our life boon actually, with the way that we might be able to minion tap if things work out, is we should have a lot of pool, or at least a reasonable amount of pool. So when we life boon somebody in, we're going to be trying to life boon them in with a bit of a deal. The goal being we life boon you in, and in exchange, we're going to life boon you in for a lot. In exchange, you give us a VP, and whatever you get after that, that's on you. Playing some major boon as well. I think this will be really handy if we do have an asset, we'll call it, when somebody is working for us, to keep them alive, or to kill off somebody when we need to with we'll take a tiny bleed for them in exchange for a big bleed on us. I think our master package is decent enough. We're not playing a lot, only 19, but only 1 trifle, so really probably rough, but minion taps are going to be pretty essential in this deck. We are, in our action package, playing a bit of a weird combination of cards. I actually did put Catacombs in here. Oh shit, I didn't notice it. So we do have Catacombs, and Harzi, we'll call him. Wanted to play him because he's a Cardinal, and I've really wanted to try out this card in a number of decks. Probably should be playing some more wider views in here, now that I'm thinking about it. Ag hand damage ally, 2 strength, so not irrelevant for ag hand damage. Can get an intercept during D-actions, gets an optional maneuver. A lot of stuff going for it in the standard werewolf, healing back up if you're at less than 4, or less than max rather. I think it's really good. I think it's honestly just a difficult to play card, costs a lot, so we may never even see it. But we'll see, we'll give it a try. Trying out Auto Defay here as well. Auto Defay is a very interesting card that puts people in some weird positions from time to time, either makes them repay for some vampires if they're like 4 caps or 5 caps. It's almost like repaying for them. Oftentimes will probably burn a weenie because it'll cost them 6 to keep it. Diminishing returns the bigger the vampire is, but kind of an interesting mechanic, and just want to see how it works. Not critical to the deck's goals or intentions, just kind of here if we end up in a table position, we might be able to take advantage of it. And then we're playing a little bit of a block package. We've got some Under Siege, some Abbot. This is just to give us a little bit of defense if we really need it. Probably not going to get a lot. We've also, in the reactions package, have a little Eyes of Argus and some Telepathic Misdirection, just in case. And then some utility cards, Cleansing Ritual and Far Mastery. Gotta have at least 1 Far Mastery. Allies are going to happen, and you want to make sure you can handle them. And Cleansing Ritual will free up a guy if we end up in that worst case scenario of somebody slotting a card right on top of our vampire. Could be a little bit difficult if it ends up going on to Kyle because you got to be older. So this is I guess it's actually, this won't work. Now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, we're gonna drop this. This is why I go over things with other people and talk about it. Because there's lots of stuff I don't realize until I actually see it happen. You know? So good. We're learning things, new things every day. So, Cleansing Ritual is out. Gotta be younger. Doesn't really help. In terms of action modifiers, we are playing 1 command. Again, nice little ally tech, anti-ally tech. If we never hit it, if we hit it, we don't need it. We can drop it. But if we do hit it, it's a really good, like, gotcha. Playing some safe passage. You know, this can help in some interesting situations. If we're going to be mostly rescuing and potentially at 2 stealth, safe passage might mean that either an enhanced senses cost 1 or the pair of intercept cards are going to cost them 2 blood. Could put us in a much better situation against them. So I think well worth playing some safe passages here. Also useful at our fortitude level against allies. Not irrelevant. Playing some seductions because we got dominate. Seduction is a really key card if we've got a vampire who's stacking intercept and we just don't want to deal with it. And then obviously the threats, like we were talking about with our ousting strategy of govern and threats. Reaction package, we got some Eyes of Argus, like I said, Telepathic Misdirection. Not really going to be probably used most for intercept, mostly going to be used for waking, bouncing. And then we're trying out Kindred Coercion. I think this is an interesting dominate card that I have debated for a while giving a try. It's not going to work every time, but when it works, I think it's going to work out real well. So, reactions only usable during referendum. Notice, not political action, any referendum. Force X vampires to abstain. Can cancel votes, and the affected vampires cannot be older. Makes sense. Superior is as above, and you can change the votes and ballots that the affected vampires cast to votes and ballots of your choice. And note, the affected vampires may choose to abstain if they have not already cast their votes and ballots. Right, so this can make it so they have to make that choice. But if we play it right, we change a bunch of vampires and turn the vote in a different direction. Which could be more than enough to stop a vote from happening, especially if it's a key one that we don't want to occur. If I like this, this may go up in count. Right now, I don't know how well it's going to work, and I don't want to be in a situation where I have too many of them. I feel like it's a lot like bleed bounce, where you don't want to flood yourself because bleed isn't the only way that people are going to win. Just like politics isn't the only way people are going to win. For combat, we are going a defensive package, playing a Heaven's Gate because we got Harzor here. Heaven's Gate's also useful oh no, never mind. Can that part. I was going to say it's also useful for preventing one of your other vampires, but that is only at Necromancy, which we don't have. Instead, we'll be using Martyr's Resilience for that. Preventing 1 damage to another minion or vampire or minion or retainer, or preventing a bunch of damage if we burn a little bit of blood. I think this card will work out interestingly. I don't know if it's the right card for the deck, but considering we do kind of want to try playing out Harzo, and I have wanted to play around with the card a little bit, I think this is maybe the right time to try it. If it doesn't work, I don't feel like I'm out anything. Gotta be unlocked, though. That is the one drawback of the card. Unlocked does make things a little more difficult, but I think it'll work out okay. Some Skin of Rock, because Skin of Rock is good. And then target Retainer for a little bit of trying something. I don't think we're going to use this a lot for hitting a Retainer, but where I do think this is interesting is just as giving an extra damage to a strike from time to time. A nice little additional surprise when we need it, and it does get rid of a Retainer if we're in a situation where that's relevant. Really just trying it. I know Walking Stick is probably a better in-slot option, but sometimes you gotta play around with cards and just see what happens when you play them and how they interact with stuff. Because maybe later on you realize the card does have a use. And then 1 Denial of Aphrodite's Favor can be used to cancel any number of cards. Can be used to cancel a voter cap, can be used to cancel a combat ends, can be used to cancel a bleed card. Very, very useful, very, very circumstantial, I'm sure. But I think it's worth giving it a try. So I don't think the deck is a finished deck. I don't see the deck necessarily walking with any table wins right now as it stands. But I definitely think it's an interesting deck to play around with a lot of different mechanics, get a feel for how they are, and then follow up with where the deck is in a little while and see what kind of mechanics we've learned about and where we've gone from there, like a lot of the decks I like to try out. Thanks so much for your time.